Hi guys, I cannot remember how to do this. I have not filmed an update for quite some time since our last failed transfer with our surrogate. I have been meaning to sit down and film this for so long. My head has been all over the place. The last video I uploaded was the pregnancy test video where we found out the third embryo we transferred to our gestational surrogate failed. That was in October. There's so much I need to share, things that happened before our last transfer and things that have happened since. My last proper update was after our friend Liv, who was our gestational surrogate, miscarried the second embryo that we transferred. She miscarried at 6 weeks. So yeah, I think I'll catch you up starting there in September and then work our way to now. I just want to preface this video by saying please try and avoid comments like you should do this, you should do that. It is such a sensitive time at the moment, and obviously Tim and I are very aware of our options and only we know what is right for us and our family. It's a very personal thing, choosing the next steps and trying to work out what we do. So I just want to ask, please be mindful of your comments. I mean, majority of you are so sensitive and so lovely. I guess this is for the minority. I just wanted to preface the video. I know it probably won't stop everyone from putting in their 2 cents, but and it comes with the territory of sharing. But as I've shown the last few years, I'm a pretty open book, but there are obviously bits and pieces that I don't share. Majority I do, but for certain reasons. Anyway, you get the idea. So we'll go to the consult that we had with our specialist following the miscarriage at 6 weeks, which was on the 4th of September. At that point we had transferred our 2 perfect graded PGS normal embryos to our surrogate, and the first resulted in a chemical pregnancy and the second a miscarriage at 6 weeks. We had at that time 1 more untested embryo left from last year's IVF cycle, and we also had 1 untested embryo left from a cycle we did in 2017. So we had 2 untested embryos left. My specialist asked if Tim and I would consider creating more embryos to give us some embryos that were PGS tested to transfer to our surrogate. I have done 5 egg collections and we were hopeful that last year's 5th one would be our last. Now, our first IVF cycle was in 2016 and we started trying in 2014, so we've been going at this for a long time. And we had hoped when we began our surrogacy journey that 1 of our 4 embryos would become our baby. And with each failure it's just felt like it's not going to happen. So when she asked me if we would do another egg collection cycle, I wasn't feeling like it was a yes. The thought of doing another egg collection cycle just filled me with dread, and I knew Tim felt the same way. I felt really defeated after that appointment. I asked again if Liv could be tested for natural killer cells because that had been something I'd wanted to happen from the very beginning. From the beginning it was dismissed as necessary because Liv, had had children. Originally I was told they don't test surrogates for natural killer cells, and then I was told it wasn't necessary. So when I brought up natural killer cells again, my specialist was hesitant and explained why. She doesn't like putting surrogates on extra medications like steroids and Clexane. I was just desperate for answers. We'd transferred 2 perfect embryos. After the first failure we did an ERA for Liv to work out her receptive window and the best time to transfer an embryo. Those results revealed we were transferring the embryo too late, so we moved the transfer time for the second transfer, made it earlier. But natural killer cells was one thing we hadn't tested for, and it was always in the back of my mind, and so my specialist agreed to test her for those. So just over 2 weeks later, on the 23rd of September, Liv went in for an endometrial scratch again in preparation for our 3rd embryo transfer. Our specialist took a sample of her lining and we had it tested for natural killer cells. I think at that point we were all assuming it was our embryos that were the issue. And then the day before Liv's cycle began for our third embryo transfer, we got the results for the natural killer cells, and it revealed they were very high, over 30, which was my reading a few years ago. So receiving that result was really hard. I felt regret for not pushing for it from the very beginning. This whole process I have tried really hard to trust, something that is not easy for me to do because I feel like I've been let down a lot. Receiving these results was a reminder of why I can't trust. I was kicking myself, I still am, for not pushing to get that tested and just not doing it. I could have pushed and I could have got it done, and I didn't. So I regret that a lot. And I've had a lot of feelings about it. Frustration, anger. I feel like these things should be ruled out from the very beginning before transferring our precious embryos, which took so long to create, so much time and money. All of the vitamins, all of the antioxidants to create them, the 2 egg collections, Tim getting sperm surgically removed, which was a couple of $1,000 alone, and then all of the surrogacy costs, and then the ERA, which was another over $2,000. So much money went into giving these embryos a chance, and they were just gone in a moment. And of course it's only natural to wonder, what if? What if Liv had been on steroids? Would our embryos have survived? Would she have miscarried? No one can answer that for us. We can only speculate. It was really, really hard news to swallow. I just feel like all preventative measures should be taken from the very beginning, especially a surrogacy case when the stakes are so high. You know, I mean, the stakes are high in any situation, but so for the third transfer, Liv was put on 10 milligrams of prednisone. I was on 20 milligrams with the same specialist a few years prior. So that worried me as well, that she was on 10 milligrams less than me. I questioned it with a nurse and was just told to trust. She was put on Clexane, baby aspirin, still on the progesterone pessaries as she was previously. So yeah, we found out about the natural killer cells pretty much at the same time as Liv's cycle started, so I raced to the chemist and bought the steroids and the Clexane. It was also discovered Liv had an MTHFR gene mutation, so we got her some folinic acid. The MTHFR gene mutation means you can't absorb folic acid, the synthetic form of folate. This third embryo that we had to transfer, as I said, wasn't PGS tested, but it was a pretty good grade, and it was hatching. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. It was just hatching from the inner cell mass, which is the part of the embryo that forms the baby, instead of hatching from the trophectoderm, which forms the placenta, and they can't take a swab of the embryo if it's hatching from the inner cell mass. So that's the reason why it wasn't tested, but it looked good and it was hatching. Having discovered the natural killer cells, we were feeling hopeful that, given she was on steroids, to get them down, hopefully it would work. And then if you've watched the recent video, you know it didn't. We tested a lot later this last transfer to keep anxiety down. So yeah, we didn't take a home pregnancy test until right up until beta day, and that pregnancy test was a total negative. So we don't know if maybe the embryo tried to implant or not. Obviously the discovery of the natural killer cells confuses the whole situation. I wish we had discovered them from the very beginning. With this last transfer, it wasn't a tested embryo, so we don't know if it was chromosomally normal or not, if that was maybe the reason, if it was the natural killer cells, if it was the embryo quality, even though it looked good. I mean, even PGS normal embryos aren't guaranteed to implant, so it's just such a minefield. We decided end of October that we would aim to transfer the last embryo before Christmas, and then if it didn't work, we would start the new year afresh. Then mid-November rolled round and Liv messaged me saying her cycle had started, did we want to proceed with the transfer? My immediate gut reaction was know. But I wanted to go with what she wanted to do. I didn't want to delay it if that's not what she wanted to do. Liv said she was happy to do whatever, so we decided not to transfer the last embryo. Given our 3 best embryos haven't worked, we don't have high hopes for this last embryo. None of us do, and for multiple reasons over this last month we've decided not to transfer it to our surrogate Liv. We don't know what we're going to do with it. We don't know what we're going to do next. I haven't heard from my clinic at all. Following our last failed transfer, I got a missed call on blood test day, but that's it. I just don't know what we do and where we go from here, and sorry, I just had to swap over the memory card. But yeah, this surrogacy journey definitely hasn't gone the way any of us had hoped or imagined it would. I still have moments where I just can't believe that it hasn't worked. We went into this process feeling so hopeful that this would be our path, this would be our solution, our answer. You know, we invested a lot. Luke and Liv, our beautiful friends, invested a lot and were so selfless and incredible in going down this path with us at all. And I wish Liv didn't have to go through what she has with all of the transfers and the failures and the Clexane injections. I gave her those every day at the same time. Starting the day before transfer, I think. I feel like I mentally prepared myself for the difficulties that surrogacy would bring as an intended parent, as a mother who's not carrying her own baby. And you know, I understand how it feels to experience failed IVF treatment and failed transfers and lose embryos and lose pregnancies, and it's just, it feels never ending, and I just can't believe surrogacy hasn't worked for us. Even though we were all still communicating, Liv and I could just, my intuition was telling me it was getting a bit much for her, and that's one of the reasons why we're not moving forward with another transfer. Not the sole reason, because she has said she's happy to do it if that's what we want, but one of the reasons. So there's a lot of stuff going through my head at the moment. I don't think I've ever felt this lost in this journey. Committing to and changing your ideas of how your family would be created is something we've already done. Surrogacy, that was a huge thing for us to wrap our heads around, and now we're finding ourselves in a situation where we're needing to do that again. So we're seriously considering egg donor, embryo donation, and potentially using our embryos and doing an immune protocol using drugs that we haven't tried before, and transferring the embryos to me. I might make this video into 2 parts because this is already getting quite long and there's still quite a bit I want to go through. I had my AMH retested, which is my ovarian reserve, and I want to talk a little bit more about what we're considering for the new year. So yeah, like I said, I am so saddened surrogacy hasn't worked. I know Liv feels the same way. It was a journey we had hoped would be really special, and coming to the realization that our baby isn't going to come to us in that way is hard. And of course we just are left with so many unanswered questions. It could very well be our embryos, even though our specialists haven't really confirmed that. It's just hard to know with the natural killer cells. But I'll go into what I'm kind of leaning towards and thinking about in the next video, which I'll probably just film straight away, right here, right now. While I'm here, otherwise it'll take me another 10 months to do it. To wrap this video up, I just want to say thank you for the incredible support you guys have given us this year, especially through our surrogacy journey. I just cannot imagine going through all of this without the online community here and on Instagram. And I'm so incredibly thankful for all of you. Anyway, I better crack on and film the next video, but there might be a couple of days in between this video and the next one, but it is coming. Promise. Infertility sucks. That's for sure. Anyway, I hope you're all doing really well. Speak to you soon.